I want to say something about brownstone operations. You've heard me mention this before. This is the CIA chief Drumheller in Europe. Valerie Plame worked for him and kind of set up this kind of network of brownstone operations in Europe for Tyler Drumheller. So this is something that's been a part of CIA operations since 1947, since they started the CIA. Now, he also was a member of Osprey Global that Sid Blumenthal used and hired David Grange, General Grange, who runs Delta Force, that toppled Gaddafi. So it's all linked. This is all linked through Libya and so forth. So I mentioned that Jeffrey Epstein was that guy who was running their brownstone operations in the North America, Central America type region. So you got Drumheller doing it in Europe. You've got Jeffrey Epstein doing it over here in Little St. James Island off of Puerto Rico. Now, this lady here, young lady, Conchita Sarnoff, a very good author, excellent author actually, has spent an incredible amount of time researching this case. It's an 11-year case that he's been involved in, this federal case. And she's also a reporter in the sense that she's following these two Florida cases. They're still active cases against Jeffrey Epstein. One is for the 40 girls. They're all under 16. And then there's one in New York. Now, I mentioned before that there was, I thought, over 100 kids, not just 40, but 40 were in the plaintiff when they sued again, when they find out how light of a sentence he got. And it turned out that one of the gals that bring in the case is Jane Doe 102. So usually, they number Jane Does 1, 2, 3, and so I believe there was up to 100 Jane Does in that case. To just give you an idea how widespread this is. You can see all the links for this downstairs, down in my document. If you come to this document, you can see her interview on RT. The Human Trafficking Protection Act is the TVPA there. The minimum sentence is 20 years. He got 13 months in a county jail. There are reports of the jailer just taking a picture of him on the weekend at night in his room, and then he would leave. So he didn't even spend any time actually in the jail. You're going to find DynCorp is going to be running this whole operation worldwide. They're going to be running it in Bosnia. He got girls from Bosnia. He got girls from Ukraine. There's going to be articles and links down there as young as 14. They were flown in through Paris. He picks them up at the airport. There's at least a case where he picks up at least 3 from Bosnia, and then there's another group that he's going to pick up from Ukraine. He's also getting girls from Brazil, coming up from Brazil. There's also getting kids from Haiti, and you're also going to see an article down there about the State Department, Hillary's people, and it's going to be Philippe luring Bob Menendez, a senator, down to the Dominican Republic to be involved in this sex filming. So check out Conchita Sarnoff. She just put out the book called Trafficking on the first of the year this year. So as I mentioned, we've got a U.S. Senator now with an article about him being caught in Dominican Republic. You're going to see a lot of articles I've added about the human trafficking situation. And as I've said before, I'm going to link this to Carlos Slim in Colombia, especially running a big microfinancing and prostitution ring in Colombia. You're also going to see where there's going to be an operation called, this is going to be called Underground Railroad, and it's being run by CIA. And then the cover is, oh, we were there to crack the case. They're always going to say that, oh, we did all this because we were there to crack the case. So again, Monica Petersen, all over the case, great researcher from the University of Denver. As I've said many times in the past, but I'll say it again, this Philippe Reines is going to be the guy who sets up these parties for Epstein. And he's also going to be the guy at the NATO C3 parties and the CENTCOM parties he's going to be setting up all these parties for Epstein. And as I mentioned before, he's in this group called Beacon Global. Shapiro was the one who was going after the stingers and sarin gas and let it slip through his fingers or whatever. Paula Broadwell in this case right here is going to be your JTTF officer. She's the one who's going to be setting up these brownstones. Mike Morrell is the guy who's going to be doing those brownstone ops and all this all the blackmail sex. So it's all a very tight group. And one thing I wanted to say about police officers, you don't, when I said you work your way down hierarchically, you get the chief of police and then you get the lieutenants and so forth. I didn't mean to say you get, with JTTF, you get every police officer. No, it's exactly the opposite, just like this kind of collusion. It's a very small group. It's a very few people. It's 14 people in the State Department. It's 5 or 6 people in the CIA. It's 2 or 3 guys who are willing to fly drugs in on their helicopters. This is the flight log of where Jeffrey Epstein crashed his helicopter, and that's a DynCorp helicopter. So when I said this about JTTF and this school here that's training people how to set up these brownstones and so forth, I wasn't saying that every police officer in America is part of a gang rape. You only need a team of about 8 people on any given major police force. They meet after hours in plain clothes. They do the operations. They mainly watch informants. And they're there just in case something goes wrong. So, as I said, the federal government has shifted from it. It's not really the federal government that shifted to entrapment and asset forfeiture. It's the CIA through the JTTF infiltrating into the FBI, and then the FBI infiltrating that same. You can find everybody's going to be counterterrorism. Everybody in this group, counterterrorism, and every signed 302 interview, every affidavit, it's always going to be a counterterrorism guy. You go, what is this sex operation? It's counterterrorism? How is that? That's what you're going to find. I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, this is Operation Underground Railroad, and you're going to find these guys, now that the heat's coming on, these guys are going to be saying, oh, we were there to try to break up the ring. So, well, you ran the ring for 20 years. Yeah, we really wanted to get a lot of evidence. So that's a story that's coming, believe it or not. It's called Operation Underground Railroad. So again, I say to Preet Bharara, who's the district attorney, Southern District Attorney of New York, who has a reputation for busting people on Wall Street. Actually, I think these are going to be donations back to Hillary. But don't ignore these 650,000 emails. If 500,000 of them are classified, and she does have a folder like this police chief said that said XXX, and all of Jeffrey Epstein's brownstone operations are in that file of XXX, you don't really want to be defending her. You don't want to be getting in the way of that and defending Anthony Weiner and looking over at Wall Street people who've done, a $10,000 trade, and their brother called them and said, I think this is a good buy. You really do want to spend your time over here because, as I said before, you've got money laundering, you've got child exploitation, you've got sex crimes, you've got pay to play, and you've got obstruction of justice over here. We have the emails. It says she did 6 trips to Epstein's Island. We have the flight logs, of the U.S. Secret Service. And we have the flight logs that said Bill went 20 times. Plus, we have the call records of them being in the Bahamas, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and British Virgin Islands. So we can place the criminal at the scene of the crime. So again, Preet, I think you really need to consider what you're doing. Again, this situation, I always end on this, now there's 18 Gmail accounts. Just publish the 650,000 emails, or at least the unclassified ones, and publish metadata for the classified emails. The 18 accounts now, because Kerry's negotiation team, which I think you're going to see includes Neil Brown, Kerry's negotiation team includes 4 more Gmail accounts, so we're up to 18. Again, this doesn't get any better. It just gets worse. There's more destruction of evidence, more quid pro quo, more bribes, more walling off the Haiti investigation. No grand jury, no subpoenas, no court orders, immunity to all the co-conspirators, all in on an initial interview, things the FBI never does. That's the assistant director of the FBI saying that, not me. So that's all for this morning. I'll have more on the developing news later today.